great deal of Star Trek Picard news lately. Two big things came out. We have a new showrunner, or we will have a new showrunner. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard that Michael Chabon is basically leaving Picard I guess, as they're getting ready to gear up for season 2. He's going to stay on in some kind of executive producer or producing capacity, but he will no longer be basically the day-to-day showrunner.
And that means he's not going to be involved anymore. Right. See, this entire story is just bizarre to me, and I do not understand how Hollywood works. I don't think anybody truly does. Okay, so this is from comicbook.com. This is an article dated December 15th. Star Trek Picard Season 2 will have a new showrunner. So first of all, it's weird. So on the one hand, they announced that Michael Chabon is leaving and going on to greener pastures. He's been offered another show on Showtime. Showtime is part of Viacom. So he's leaving. He's no longer going to be the showrunner. But at the same time, they greenlit Star Trek Picard 2 already without a single episode ever coming out, which I find bizarre. I don't know why you would do that. But I guess that comes down to that idea of you're too big to fail, right? Star Trek Picard is too big to fail. Now, literally, it's too big to fail because no matter what, it's getting a second season, right? So by definition, it's too big to fail now. They're at the same time. One thing I was thinking about with this, I will say, in the streaming age, with how short these seasons are, like we've been talking about The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian's almost over. We've got one more episode, after tonight's review. Only 8 episodes. With Picard, they're going to be slightly more, 10 episodes, and we assume they're going to be like hour-long episodes as opposed to kind of like half-hour episodes that Mandalorian is. Back in the day, a TV season, one season, was like, what, 22, 24 episodes?
Yeah.
One season.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now we're in this streaming age where these seasons are very short. And so I get it. It's almost like you're almost greenlighting just one season, one season like it used to be. But the other side of this is the astronomical budgets that shows like Discovery, The Mandalorian, and now Star Trek Picard have. And we don't know exactly what the budget of Star Trek Picard is, but you get an indication, and people who are more in the know would be able to get. We lost the feed there. I think it was in a different article because I'm not finding it in this one, but they talk about the tax credits that Star Trek Picard got, and you can kind of gauge what the budget must be based on the tax credits. And the tax credits for Star Trek Picard are massive. It's like $22 million or something like that. So that means the budget, that means the amount that they're spending is way more than that. And it's crazy to me that they spend this kind of money on a show that's totally unproven. Now, part of that I'm sure has to do with the production cycle. Like if they wait too long, like they're going to lose the crew, they're going to lose the actors. Because I know that almost happened to Picard. Picard had so many delays. That's one of the things that happened. They had so many delays. They were getting to the point where they were going to have to release the cast and crew. They were not going to be able to keep them anymore. And they were keeping them doing nothing. There were so many delays with Star Trek Picard. They were keeping people, on salary, on retainer, without doing any work because it was such a mess. So it's really weird to me. I mean, it really boggles my mind. So Chabon is out. He's moving on without the first season even coming out. And yet the second season's already been renewed. And I don't know what to make of this, except that, I don't know, CBS All Access loves to spend money.
Well, to put a positive spin on this for half a second, one of the things that's interesting is that Michael Chabon is going on to do an adaptation of The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. If I remember correctly, I think he might have won a Pulitzer Prize for that. it's sort of a, how would I best describe it? It's kind of like a golden age comic book story, but looking at the industry from a different aspect, the industry as a whole. Um, and it's a very, at least at one time, a very highly celebrated um, novel and series that people have talked about for a long time. I've never actually read The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. I may be burned in effigy for saying that right now and admitting that, but I've never read it.
I haven't either. I never heard of it.
Yeah, but it's been, I've heard it highly talked about in different circles for a very, very long time. So for him, that's got to be fun because he's going to go off and adapt something that he loved that he created, you know. So if him coming on and doing Picard and his price was, I get to go over here and, you know, you guys help me get this other thing off the ground, then good for him. You know, maybe this was his stepping stone to adapt, you know, his own personal work, you know. Well, good, you know. As far as what it means for Picard, it's just one of those things. It's like, until we actually see one or two of these episodes, who knows what's going on with this show. I mean, I love Patrick Stewart and I hope it's going to be good, but man, every time something like this comes out, you're kind of left scratching your head going, I don't know. So,
well, you know, to be fair, there was a lot of turmoil behind the scenes with Next Generation. Anybody who's seen the documentary Chaos on the Bridge is keenly aware of that. We've talked about that documentary on the show, and I highly recommend it for Trek fans because there's a lot of behind the scenes, and a lot of the behind the scenes conflict is shown in that. And they did go through multiple showrunners and co-showrunners. Obviously, as Gene's health began to deteriorate, he lost more and more control over the show. You can see it as the show changes. So they had a lot of turmoil there as well. So turmoil isn't always necessarily a bad thing. It can sometimes lead to something good, but it definitely doesn't have a good visual. I mean, we found out about all that stuff with the Next Generation years later. This is stuff we're finding out in real time, and these are announcements that are being made that are to me just kind of weird. They're just kind of mind-boggling, you know. One minute you're telling us that your showrunner's gone, and the next minute you're telling us, but everything's good, guys. We're renewing it for a second season, even though nobody's seen a single episode. But we're renewing it. It's all good. It's all good. Nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here. That's what it feels like. There's nothing to see here. Shaban is just moving on to greener pastures. He's still staying on as a producer. I know that's lingo for, yeah, he's getting name credit, you know. He's not going to be involved in any day-to-day stuff when he's concentrating on their project. Just not going to happen. Something weird is going on there. You know, I look at the guy at the top with Kurtzman, and I don't have any confidence in him. Personally, I've seen the way that he talks. I've seen the way he talks about fans. You know, he was on a podcast not too long ago. We talked about it on the show where he basically said, "Hey, if I'm pissing off half of you, I'm doing my job. That's right about where I want to be." I'm like, that's great. You want to alienate half the fandom. And I keep thinking, how did the executives at Viacom now look at that and say that's okay? And that's who we want running our stuff. We want to alienate half the fan base because we don't want to make money. I mean, God forbid that. I mean, CBS All Access, I guarantee you, is just losing money right now, hand over fist. Most of the streaming platforms are. Even Netflix is going into debt because they're spending so much money on new content. So I guess part of that is how the game is being played right now, but it's a head scratcher for me. You know, it really is. It's a head scratcher for me. I want to like this show. We're going to be doing a big lead up to Picard as it comes up. I definitely want this show to be good. It's just stuff like this really concerns me. You would think they would at least wait until the show's out and they got some reaction, and then they can kind of spin Shaban's departure one way or the other. You know, he can be leaving in triumph. Think of it this way. If I was doing the marketing, this is the way I would look at it. Think of it this way. We could, if Picard is a hit, okay, if there's glowing reviews, it's a big hit with fans on the first day, We can either spin Shaban's departure as, hey, just like you said, we're rewarding this man. We always kind of made a deal with him that he was going to help us get this show running, but he has this other project that he wants to do, and we're rewarding him with his own project where he gets to be truly the head man. He's not going to be working, under a Kurtzman situation. It's going to be his deal. This is his reward for a job well done.
Right.
Whereas the other side of it could be, if it's not being well received, you could say, you know what? It was all Siobhan's fault, and we're getting rid of him, and he's going to do something else, okay?
Yeah.
That's the way I would do it. This stuff right now, it's like, you're like, what's going on? Like, who's in charge, I don't know. To me, it's mind-boggling. It's not the way that I would do things. Obviously, I'm not a producer or an executive at CBS All Access, but sometimes this stuff it's just mind-boggling to me, and the amount of money these people are given and responsible for, and they do stuff like this, and they announce things like this and this kind of cycle, especially so close together. Like I said, it just seems like seems to me, in my mind, Siobhan was like one thing, and then they just did, okay, well, Picard's great. Season 2, greenlit, nothing to see here. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Too big to fail. And there's no story here. And for a large part, that's the way the mainstream media is covering it. It's like, oh, this is just normal. This is fine. Nothing to look at here. Nothing to be concerned about. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It'll all work itself out,
Yeah,
We'll
this is not the Picard news that you were looking for.
We'll see. I mean, like I said, I absolutely want the show to be good, and I absolutely think that there's potential for the show to be great. But these are weird stories to run so close together, and it seems like a lot of spin to me. It's a lot of spin, and it makes me really wonder what's going on with that production.
Right.